A soft piano begins to play a slowed-down version of "Oh, Pretty Woman." On screen, golden text appears. 35 years ago, the world fell in love with a story that seemed like a dream. We hear a faint echo of Julia Roberts' laugh from the original film, carried like a memory. The music swells softly, then drops into silence, narrator, deep and emotional. But what if fairy tales don't end? What if they find a way back, even after decades? The black screen dissolves into a glowing night view of modern-day Los Angeles. Neon lights stretch across the boulevard, reflections shimmer in sleek car windows, and palm trees stand tall against the skyline. The camera glides down toward the bustling streets, where glamorous storefronts now sit side by side. With the same old corners once walked by dreamers chasing their destinies, the music shifts, still gentle, but carrying a note of mystery. Narrator. Los Angeles. A city where dreams are born, broken, and sometimes reborn. The camera cuts to a woman stepping out of a limousine. We don't see her face, only her iconic silhouette. Her hair glimmers under the streetlights and her heels click against the pavement. The camera pans closer to the hem of her elegant gown, red silk brushing against her heels. A clear nod to the unforgettable dress from decades past, slow motion. She steps onto the red carpet of a grand charity gala. Photographers flash their cameras. Though the audience doesn't see her face yet, the voiceover tells us everything. Narrator. She was once a girl who walked the boulevard. Now she is a woman who walks among the stars. The screen flashes with glimpses of Vivian Ward's life. Today, a luxurious office with framed magazine covers on the wall, featuring Julia Roberts as a philanthropist and advocate. A bustling press conference where she speaks confidently, her words inspiring a new generation. A close-up of her hand signing an autograph, wearing the same style of jewelry that once defined her transformation. The piano fades, replaced by a deeper, more dramatic orchestral build. The camera cuts to a balcony overlooking Los Angeles at night. Vivian, silhouette only, holds a glass of wine, looking out into the distance. She places the glass down, opens a velvet box on the table, and inside sits a sparkling necklace. The very necklace once playfully snapped shut in front of her so many years ago. She stares at it in silence. Narrator. Vivian Ward. The woman who believed in fairy tales now faces the truth that even fairy tales leave behind questions. The music softens, a low hum echoing in the background. We see flashbacks, blurred, dreamlike snippets from the first film. A limousine door opening, the rooftop rescue with the bouquet, her laughter in the bathtub. These are not clear clips, but hazy memories drifting across the screen like smoke. Cut back to present day, a close-up of Vivian's eyes. Older, wiser, still carrying the same spark. The audience finally sees Julia Roberts as Vivian again, framed in golden light. Narrator. 35 years later, her story is not over. The music swells as we shift quickly to modern Beverly Hills. Boulevard. A young woman around the same age Vivian once was is seen walking the streets. She wears boots too big for her, holding a small bag and looking up at the glittering hotel signs. She's lost, but her wide eyes show determination. Vivian watches her from across the street. Their eyes lock for just a second. A silent recognition passes between them. Narrator. Because every generation has its dreamers. And sometimes the past and the present collide. The section closes with the sound of a single piano key lingering in the silence. The screen fades to black. On screen, bold text appears. Pretty Woman 2. Then, smaller beneath it. The story begins again. Asterisk. The screen opens with the sound of city traffic. Horns, footsteps, distant laughter. The camera sweeps across the crowded Hollywood Boulevard, where tourists snap photos and street performers pose for tips. Among them, a young woman, her face hidden in shadow, sings softly on the corner, clutching a worn guitar. The lyrics are barely audible, but the melody is hauntingly close to Pretty Woman. Vivian's voice is heard, older and reflective, but it is not shown as spoken directly. Instead, it plays like a memory layered over the scene. Once upon a time, I was just another face on this street. I thought the world didn't see me, but then everything changed. The shot cuts to Vivian today, standing at the window of a penthouse office, gazing down at the very streets where her story began. She clutches a silver pen in her hand, her reflection framed in the glass. Behind her, aides and assistants rush about, preparing for her big gala. The weight of her new life is clear. Wealth, power, recognition, but also distance. Narrator. She escaped the boulevard. But the boulevard never let go of her heart. The screen darkens, then flashes with quick cuts, Vivian attending a board meeting where her ideas are dismissed by younger executives. Tabloid covers questioning her choices, whispering about her past. A brief glimpse of an anonymous letter slid under her office door. The paper reads in scrawled handwriting, "Do you still believe in happy endings?" The orchestral music shifts, pulsing with tension. Vivian picks up the letter late at night, alone in her study. She sits at her desk under a dim lamp, her expression caught between curiosity and unease. She runs her fingers over the words, then folds the letter slowly, slipping it into a drawer already full of similar envelopes. Cut to her walking through a hotel lobby, dressed in elegance. Paparazzi flash their cameras, but her smile looks rehearsed. She steps into the elevator, and for the first time, her face drops. No cameras, no audience. Just a woman carrying the weight of expectations. Narrator. She became the woman the world wanted her to be. But deep inside, she still searches for the woman she truly is. The screen flickers to the young girl again, the one seen on the street earlier. Now she stands at the same fire escape Vivian once leaned against. She looks out at the city with wide, determined eyes. A passing limousine slows near her, and for a split second, we hear the faint echo of Richard Gere's voice from long ago. So what happens after he climbs up and rescues her? The music halts. Silence. Vivian, seated in her car, hears the same words replaying in her mind like an old record. She closes her eyes. Her driver looks back at her, concerned, but she waves him off. She whispers under her breath. She rescues him right back. But what if she never stopped? The screen fills with flashes of tension and longing. Vivian at a charity event, locking eyes with someone in the crowd. The camera lingers on a man's silhouette, but his face is hidden. The young woman performing at a cafe, Vivian slipping quietly inside to watch from the corner. A storm over Los Angeles. Lightning splitting the sky as Vivian clutches the old necklace in her hand. The orchestral music swells again. Louder, faster, blending nostalgia with urgency. Narrator. Old flames, new choices. And a city that never forgets. The trailer cuts to a dramatic sequence, a limousine door slamming shut. A ballroom dance under sparkling chandeliers. Vivian turning in shock as someone calls her name. A single rose placed on her desk without a note, the music crescendos, then abruptly cuts out, leaving only the sound of Vivian's footsteps echoing down a long hallway. She stops in front of a door, hesitates, and places her hand on the handle. The camera holds the moment. The audience never sees what's inside. On screen, bold white letters appear against the black background. Sometimes fairy tales return when you least expect them. The sound of the piano returns, slow and deliberate, carrying the weight of longing and possibility. The final shot of this section, Vivian standing alone on a rooftop at dusk, her red gown flowing in the wind, the city glowing behind her. She closes her eyes as the camera pulls away into the night sky. The section begins in silence. The screen shows an empty theater stage lit by a single spotlight. Dust particles float in the air, glowing as if frozen in time. Slowly, the camera pans to reveal Vivian, standing alone at center stage in an elegant gown. She doesn't speak. Instead, her eyes move across the empty seats, as though searching for someone. Narrator, gentle, emotional. In every story, there is the moment you ask yourself, was it love that saved you, or was it love that you lost? The shot fades into flashes of her past, quick, dreamlike fragments. Edward holding her hand, the jewelry box snapping closed, her laughter echoing in the penthouse suite. Each memory dissolves into smoke before it fully takes shape. Cut to the present. Vivian stands at a gallery opening, surrounded by art and glamorous guests. She smiles politely at strangers, yet her gaze lingers on a painting of two figures standing apart on opposite sides of a city street. The artist explains it represents the distance between love and fate. Vivian doesn't answer. She simply stares, the weight of recognition heavy in her silence. The orchestral score swells with violins soft at first, then rising with intensity. Suddenly, the screen flashes to the young woman again, the mirror of Vivian's younger self. This time, she is not on the streets but inside a hotel lobby, working as a hostess, watching wealthy guests pass by. Vivian approaches her, their worlds colliding. The camera captures only their hands, Vivian's hand gently reaching across the desk, brushing against the girl's. Narrator. When she sees the past standing before her, will she turn away or open the door to what might have been? The scene cuts to Vivian sitting in her study, staring at the envelopes of mysterious letters. She opens one, and the camera zooms in on the words, "The man you onk loved never forgot you." The music stops. Silence. Vivian exhales sharply, her fingers trembling as she clutches the paper. Quick cuts create rising tension. A glimpse of a man stepping out of a private jet, face hidden in shadow. Vivian's startled expression as she hears his name whispered at a gala. A champagne glass shattering on the floor. Narrator. Lower, urgent tone. And sometimes the past doesn't just return, it demands to be faced. The screen fades to Vivian walking through a hotel corridor at night, heels clicking against marble. She stops at a door, her reflection caught in the golden frame. For a moment, she looks as if she might turn back, but she doesn't. She knocks. The music erupts with a swelling crescendo, then cuts abruptly to silence as the door begins to open. The audience never sees who is inside. Instead, the screen flashes to a rooftop scene. Vivian is laughing, not her polite public smile, but her real, unguarded laugh. A man's shadow crosses into frame, his hand reaching out toward hers. The two hands almost touch before the screen cuts away. Narrator. Love doesn't fade, it waits, sometimes for a lifetime. The orchestral theme grows brighter, softer, filled with hope. We see Vivian watching the sunrise from her balcony, her face illuminated by golden light. Her eyes glisten, but this time not with sadness, rather with the spark of something rediscovered. The young woman reappears, standing on a crosswalk at night, headlights reflecting in her eyes. Vivian is across the street watching her. The camera pulls wide, showing both women separated by the busy boulevard. Cars rush past, blurring the view until at last the traffic stops. They step toward one another, meeting in the middle. Narrator. For every woman who has ever dreamed, for every heart that has ever waited. This is the story of second chances. The scene builds to a fast, emotional montage. Vivian dancing under chandeliers, the camera spinning around her. A limousine door opening, but the passenger remains unseen, a hand holding a red rose, trembling slightly before being left on Vivian's doorstep. A tearful smile breaking across Vivian's face as she whispers, "Maybe some fairy tales never end." The screen fades to black. Bold white letters appear. Pretty woman too? The fairy tale continues. A single piano note plays. Then, faintly, we hear Edward's old voice once again. She rescues him right back. Vivian's voice, older now, answers softly, and maybe this time, she rescues herself too. Asterisk. The section begins in silence, broken only by the faint hum of wind. The camera drifts across the Los Angeles skyline at night, skyscrapers glittering like stars. Slowly, the hum builds into the echo of a familiar piano chord, this time bolder. Faster, almost urgent. Narrator, strong, commanding. Every story reaches its moment of truth. Every heart must decide what is worth holding on to. Suddenly, the screen explodes into a rapid-fire montage. Each image flashes like a heartbeat, fast and emotional. Vivian stepping out of a limousine in a flowing crimson gown. Flashbulbs from photographers bursting like fireworks. The young woman crying on a street corner, clutching a letter. A man's hand pressing against glass from inside a car, rain streaking down the window. Vivian running up a flight of marble stairs, her heels echoing like a drumbeat. The orchestral score swells into a crescendo, strings pulling tight as though about to snap. Narrator. The past and the present collide, and the choice will change everything. The scene cuts to Vivian, In a crowded ballroom, music plays, couples dance, chandeliers shimmer. She stands still, frozen in the middle of it all, her eyes searching desperately. The camera circles her slowly, isolating her in the crowd. Suddenly, she sees him. The man's silhouette stands. Across the room, still hidden in shadow, her breath catches. The screen cuts before the audience can see his face, a sharp drumbeat, darkness. The screen reopens to a rain-soaked street. Vivian runs across, the hem of her gown dragging through puddles. Her face is determined, her hair wild in the storm. The young woman chases behind her, calling her name. Both women run toward the same intersection, toward the same destiny. The music erupts with a sweeping, powerful arrangement of "Oh, Pretty Woman," no longer slow and delicate, but grand. Cinematic and full of triumph, flashes burst across the screen, a red rose floating in a fountain. Vivian holding the necklace, finally closing the box with a calm smile. The young woman twirling on a rooftop, her laughter carried by the wind. A hand reaching down from a limousine window. Vivian grasping it with strength, not hesitation. Narrator. Softer now, filled with emotion. Sometimes love rescues us. Sometimes we rescue ourselves, and sometimes we rescue each other all over again. The music fades, leaving only the sound of rain dripping into silence. Then, a single spotlight illuminates Vivian standing on a rooftop balcony. She turns slowly toward the camera, her face finally revealed in full. She looks older, wiser, but still radiant. She smiles, not the smile of the girl who once dreamed of fairy tales, but the smile of a woman who has lived them and found her truth. Narrator. Julia Roberts returns as Vivian Ward. The title slams onto the screen in golden. Letters filling the frame. Pretty Woman 2, the background fades to black. Smaller text glows beneath the title. Coming 2025, a new chapter begins. One final moment. The sound of a car door slamming. The camera zooms in on a bouquet of white roses left on the seat of a limousine. A familiar male voice whispers, faintly, almost like an echo of time itself, this time. It's forever. The piano plays the final chord of "Oh, Pretty Woman." Screen fades to black.